Welcome to the elevator pitch. I'm Hugh Williams. Delighted to have my longtime friend here, Molly McShane, as a guest on the show.
Hi.
We're here in our elevator. Welcome to the show. All right, Molly McShane.
Hi.
Molly McShane, welcome. Thanks so much.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so here it is. Swimmer, nacho pourer, right? Swimmer, nacho pourer. And then you went to Boston College. You're a Wildcat.
Yep. You've done your research.
A little bit. I call it half-ass internet research.
I like it. I like it. Yeah.
And now you are the CEO of McShane Companies, but
Yep.
you've done so many other things in your life. I read this quote that you said, someone had asked you about working in a family business, and you said, we never thought of it as a family business. And we always thought of it as my dad's business.
Yep.
And can you talk a little bit about just how that dynamic worked? Because I love that quote and how you see things going forward. And
I think that right now it is a family business,
Right.
and my dad started it. My brother and I are both in the business now. People, I think, frequently presume that my dad would come home from work and we'd all talk about the business at the dinner table, and
Right.
we knew everything there was to know about it, which was like opposite of
Right.
what my experience was growing up. My dad went to work. We couldn't care less what he did.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And we all led our own lives growing up.
Right.
And that was that. So I had already been working in the business for quite a while.
Okay.
When my dad started to think a little bit more seriously about succession and what the company would look like, once he was out of his role.
Right.
And then we got into more of a discussion as a family about, are you interested in working here? What does this look like? What are all the complicating factors, of which there are many
Right.
complicating factors in
Right.
it. But we studied it for a long time. We talked to other family businesses about really what their issues were, both the good and the bad.
Right.
And thought through it long before we eventually turned it into a family business and spent, a gajillion dollars on legal to make it so.
So I love that though. But first, it started out as your dad's business, then became a family business, and now you're fully ensconced in running this business. In addition to being obviously being the CEO, you're a mother. I just thought that was a really cool thing, and maybe talk a little bit about what do you talk about when you go home with your kids or.
Well, so I have two daughters.
Right.
Caitlin's 14, Megan is 12. And whether or not I talk about work when I get home all depends upon the moods that I encounter once I walk into the door.
Right.
So sometimes they want to hear about it, and sometimes they think it's very, very boring.
Right.
And so, I think the older they get, a little bit more interested they get in it.
Yeah.
They start to understand a little bit more the context of, what I do and whether or not it's important.
Do they get to hang around with you a lot when you go to work or when you're in professional situations?
I've started to.
Yeah.
I've started to. When they were younger, no. But I've started to bring my daughters to work, a day or two a year.
Yeah.
And from time to time, we'll bring them to job sites.
Oh, nice.
Which is pretty cool because they get to wear the hard hat and the safety vest.
That's cool. That's cool.
And they feel really important when they have that gear on.
That's cool.
And so, so we've started to, and it's kind of cool. Neither of them show any interest in doing it yet.
But you didn't.
Nor did I.
Right,
Until my
right.
20s, I didn't.
Right. So can you talk a little bit about can you give a little overview on McShane,
Yes.
the nature of the business, and how it got to be where it is today?
Yes. So McShane Companies is actually three different companies.
Yeah.
We have two construction companies and one real estate development company. So McShane Construction is headquartered here in Chicago, and we've got 7 offices throughout the United States. So from California all the way to Alabama.
Right.
And then Cadence McShane is our second construction company, and that's really just in Texas. So it's the 4 major markets in Texas.
Okay.
Similar companies. McShane, my dad started, organically from Chicago. Cadence was an existing company that my dad purchased and turned it into Cadence McShane. At the time that my dad bought the assets of this company, there were bargains to be had.
Okay. All right.
And so, strategically, it was a good time to buy when he did. And so then Connor is our real estate development company.
Okay.
He used to go by McShane Development Company, now goes by Connor.
Okay.
And we're a ground up developer, and we're across the United States in the markets that we also have construction expertise.
So
within.
how many people, roughly how big of an enterprise, what are we talking about?
It's about 400 people.
Oh, wow.
So we don't self-perform any work, or it would be larger. So our field staff is really, superintendent, assistant superintendent. So yeah, it's about 400 people.
And what's been the biggest challenge in, running a company with 400 folks?
So I took over in the midst of the pandemic.
That's right.
Okay,
Good
so
times.
it was really, there were challenges that I didn't anticipate,
Yep.
Years before that I would encounter.
Mm-hmm.
And so for us, the early days of the pandemic, certain things were obvious,
right?
Like, everybody shut their office down and, sent people to work from home, and we were just, making sure that our sites were still open,
Right.
and we were still employing everybody. Coming out of the pandemic, it was a little trickier,
Yeah.
right? People felt comfortable emerging from their homes
Right.
at different times.
Right.
And so running a business that had such a diverse group of opinions and comfort levels
Yeah.
was a little tricky.
Right. Oh, yeah.
And so that was probably the first unexpected challenge, was coming out of the pandemic and just dealing with everyone's emotions while maintaining safety of all of our
Right.
people. I mean, we're, two construction companies. Safety is of the utmost
number one thing.
Right. Yes, exactly.
Right.
So it was really important how we dealt with it.
Right.
And it was really in the early days of my leadership that it was like, okay, you got 400 people, you got 400 voices in this decision. So it was really interesting. But I think we ended up handling it pretty well.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. That's awesome. And so what does the future look like in terms of McShane? Are you looking at other markets? Are you going to go intergalactic? What are you thinking of doing?
We are always looking at other markets.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. But one of the things that I think is really great about a family business is that you have a really long-term perspective.
Uh-huh.
And so the growth that we like to do is strategic,
Right.
and it's steady.
Right.
So it's not like we're going to go hire another 400 people
Right.
and enter, 20 other markets this year.
Right.
And then when the markets turn, we're going to downsize.
Right.
So we like to really be stable and have a place where people can grow their careers and stay with us long term.
Right.
So it's kind of steady Eddie
Right.
as our growth goes. And so, opening, one market per year or two is the pace that we are usually comfortable with. So we open markets when we have pre-existing deals in the marketplace, and when we can have individuals that are known quantities to us that can lead those markets.
So I've admired you from afar because you've always been a person who has given back to the community and given back to real estate in particular. And now that I found out you're the shiro for the Goldie B. Wolf, I mean,
Yes.
and you're involved in NAIOP and ULI, past president. I mean, you wear a lot of hats. Can you talk about what drives you in those philanthropic efforts, and maybe talk a little bit about the shiro?
So the Goldie Initiative, really what its main purpose is to make it easier for women to become leaders in the commercial real estate industry.
Okay.
And so it's really a scholarship and it's a mentorship program.
Okay.
And so it's grown. It started at Roosevelt University, and now I can't remember how many universities it's at right now, but I should. It's at all these top universities.
So
MIT. Cornell.
Goldie, this initiative, is it?
Yes.
Is it
Yes.
around the country?
Yes, it is. Every year they have a gala. That's their main fundraiser of the year. And they highlight a woman, a female leader in the industry who has given back to, helping to make sure that other women can grow and succeed in the industry.
That's amazing.
So, listen, one of the things I think is really important in the real estate industry is to be involved in different industry groups. Part of what we do is, you build buildings, obviously, but it's so much more than that because you're improving the lives of the people within those communities. You're improving the lives of all the people that are involved in building a building. Right? So you have such an impact on so many people. And so to do that in a way that, it's not just focused on the building, but focused on all the individuals that are, a part of that process is really important. And that's where I get a lot of value. And that's why it's important to me. And so when we get together as a group, Hugh and Molly can do more together than just Hugh alone
Right,
or just
right,
Molly alone. So
right.
we join forces and we can really make a huge impact
Right.
on the industry and on the communities that we work in. And so being a part of these different industry organizations has always been really important to me, and I get really fulfilled by some of the work that we do in these organizations. So NAAP is one of them, ULI is one of them, Goldie is another one. You know, part of within those organizations, something that I think is really important that, you know, I think both you and I are, you know, perhaps especially attuned to
Right.
is the diversity.
That's right. That's right.
That we need to keep working on in
Right.
our industry.
Right.
You know, I mean,
Yeah.
we don't work in an industry that is known for its diversity.
No.
We do not.
No, we do not.
But you know, I think there's a lot of people that are trying.
Right.
You know, we haven't made as much progress as I think anyone would be happy with.
Right.
But it's important, and I think the visibility that, you know, both you and I have and others of perhaps underrepresented groups within that community is important.
So are you the Shiro throughout the entire ecosystem?
Yeah, so
then?
they have one Shiro, you know,
wow.
per year. So
Oh,
I'm
that's
the
fantastic.
2024 Shiro, which is quite an honor because, you know, they've had such other spectacular women.
Yeah. Well, high
fill
five to
role.
that.
Thanks.
High five to that.
Thanks, man.
And so again, that's why I think it's just really fantastic all that you're doing. Is there any project or anything that you've accomplished that you've been sort of most proud of, maybe in that realm or in any realm that, you know, from where you've touched the community, something that you stand out and say, you know what, I'm really glad that happened, that we were able to get that done?
For NAAP, that
Right.
you and I have both been on the board of, we made it back in 2018. I was president of NAAP, and we, you know, made it a directive that year that every panel had to have a woman on it.
Right.
Right, and it wasn't a heavy lift, frankly.
Right. Sure.
But since then that has survived
Right.
until today. And so I wouldn't say they accomplish it 100% of the time, but pretty
Right.
darn close. And it
Right.
at least is always a topic of conversation. You and I are also involved with different initiatives that ULI does
Right.
within different communities around Chicago that are helping to get emerging developers of color,
Right.
you know, a little bit more of a boost,
Right.
and some mentorship and some help in, you know, making those developments actually happen.
We've got a ways to go, but, you know, all the energy and thought that you've brought to it has been really, really appreciative. So thanks for the yield plug.
The yield plug, yes.
And what do you think about just the opportunities in the city, and where do you think here and all that Chicago has to offer? And
I am a huge fan of, defender of Chicago. Listen, we have problems, right?
Right.
Big city, big problems.
Right.
And when that's the only thing that gets the publicity, we
Yeah.
gotta, you know, that's one of the problems, right? Chicago's an amazing city. Like, people who live here love it.
Yeah.
People who come visit here love it.
Right.
It's a beautiful city. Chicago is a mature market, though. Like, some of these other markets are growing markets.
Right.
We're mature. And so we're not gonna have these huge spikes in growth
Right.
that you see in other markets.
Sure.
It's a little bit more steady eddy. You know, we've got a big base of population. We've got a big and diverse business,
Right.
you know, environment. And so I think it's going to be steady eddy.
Steady Eddie.
And so I think it's a good place to invest. You're not going to see those like crazy pops like you might see in other markets in other years, but it's a good, you know, good part of your portfolio.
I like that. I feel like thematically, you're Steady Eddie, right?
Steady eddy.
You're
That's
Steady
me.
Eddie. You're Steady Eddie.
Yeah.
And so, well, we're in the elevator, and what I like to always close with, because it's the elevator pitch, is 20 seconds or less. Who's Molly McShane?
Molly McShane is a business leader, a mom, a wife,
Yeah.
sister, daughter, cousin, all
Sister,
of
daughter,
that.
cousin, all of that.
Someone who deeply loves the city of Chicago, who cares very much about lifting others up into places of opportunity.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. Well, I really appreciate you. We appreciate you coming on the show, and you know, thanks
This
for
was
sitting
fun.
down with us.
This was
So,
fun.